What is up, ladies and gentle nerds? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and we're here with another edition of Overthinking MTG. Now, today I'm taking another break from the format, and today instead of a random card, I want to talk about a very specific card one more time. And that the reason for that is because with the changes that the meta has seen recently, I believe that the current best counter spell in standard is in your collection right now, and you're not playing it. And I want to talk about that because I think it deserves its due. And it's really freaking good, you guys. Okay, so think about some of the cards that have come out in Ikoria and how they've changed the meta. For specifically, I'm thinking of Garuda, I'm thinking of Winota, I'm thinking of um, Luca to some degree. I mean, Vivian is a rock solid mono green 5-drop planeswalker that's pointing out that that's always going to be an archetype even after Nissa cycles out. So just strap in, everybody. Think about Uro. Think about freaking cycling. Think about all of these things for a minute and think about what's dominant in the meta right now. And what do we need to counter it? And I'm sure I suspect that you're thinking, okay, Aether Gust is pretty darn good. Correct, it is, no question. But it's not perfect. You also have, well, nothing's perfect. Wizards does a really good job of not designing a perfect counterspell anymore. Well, actually, they did. It was back in Alpha. It was called Counterspell. And they'll never reprint that into Standard, unfortunately, because I think Counterspells are great. But no, this is kind of the next best thing, though, because it has all of the components that trigger and touch on the mechanics that are alive in the world today. And it's just so beautiful. And so I want to do something a little bit different today. Actually, before I go further, if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm sure you've noticed the animated background. Big shout outs to Oso Sarah. She's a Twitch streamer. She actually pointed me in the direction of that stuff. It's a phenomenal streamer. She actually does quite a bit of art. It's a lot of fun. And also, this episode is brought to you by Chroma Key. So, this particular counterspell that I'm talking about. I'm sure you're wondering, dude, just freaking get to it. What counterspell are you talking about? You talking about Mystical Dispute? No, I'm not talking about Mystical Dispute. Talking about Aether Gust? No, I'm not talking about Aether Gust. Talking about Neutralize? I mean, this thing's pretty good, but is it like the best ever? No, I'm not talking about Neutralize. It's fine, but that's not what I'm talking about. No. Today, what I'm talking about is the one, the only Tail's End. Now, I'm sure if you're probably wondering what the heck is so special about Tails End. I have this in my collection. It came out last year. Why do I care about this? Well, let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so it costs 1 and a blue, so it's splashable and it costs 2. It's a counterspell that costs 2. Let me repeat myself. That is a counterspell that costs 2. Usually when counterspells cost 2, they have some kind of massive restriction on them, which is why the original counterspell will never get reprinted into standard. Tail's End. Okay, so what can it counter? Now it's a rare. Let's observe that for a second. It's a rare from M20. Cool. Shows a picture of, I believe that's Ral Zarek getting completely wrecked. I could be mistaken. But anyway, counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell. So you know who this can touch? Every freaking planeswalker, every last one of them. And if you are on the play, you can stop Teferi with this. The other thing that it can stop is sagas. So a saga is not a legendary spell. So if somebody plays an Elspeth Conquers Death, it resolves. There's nothing you can do about that with Tail's End. Now there are plenty of other things you can do to counter it. However, when Chapter 1 goes on it and they try to destroy your biggest creature, your biggest threat that was about to win you the game, you can cast Tail's End and counter the triggered ability that occurs after that first counter gets put on it. There's a really good chance that either Chapter 1 or Chapter 3 of ECD were the chapters that they were going to get the most value out of. So if you know what that one chapter is, you can stop it, and all of a sudden they just have a big ass enchantment just sitting on the board with some great artwork, to be fair. But they didn't cast it for the artwork, so that's a great way to stop it. Also, just think about this for a second, guys. You can be on the draw. Your opponent can drop Teferi on turn 3 or Narset on turn 3. This can beat them. And if you don't have it in your hand, and they do have Teferi on the board, if they do get it to stick, and they say uptick it when it first comes down, if later on they try to downtick him to hit one of your best things, guess what? Planeswalker loyalty abilities are activated abilities. You can counter that with this. If somebody like also, if somebody decides to -8 their Nissa, sacrificing it in order to trigger her ultimate, you can just counter it, and all of a sudden they just gave up their Nissa to remove a 2-drop instant out of your hand. That sucks, doesn't it? Like the potential here is awesome. Also, this can counter the triggered ability when a Hydroid Crisis enters the battlefield. So all of a sudden, I believe it'll still come into play with the counters on it because it enters the field with the counters. They don't get added when it hits, but they don't draw cards. They don't gain life. And so all of a sudden, they could have just tapped out for a big creature. And that's not really what they did that for. That wasn't the point. So being able to stop card draws is awesome. Also, late in the game, if you are in top deck mode and your opponent draws something, it's not what they want, and they go to cycle it. If you want to just really grind your heel into your opponent, you can counter their cycling trigger. And so all they did was pay 2 or 1 or 3 or whatever it was to discard a card. That's all they get. Like, if you're in top deck mode, that can be valuable. Like that can matter because cycling is an activated ability. Also Sharknado. Just saying, you could just shut down Sharknado totally and completely with this. At least one go around. So if they try to cycle Sharknado, you can just be like, no, stop it, get that out of here. It's just I think this card's great. I think it's underrated. I think it's underappreciated. And if you are running a blue deck on Arena right now, why do you not have this in your deck? And honestly, I want to know if you're not running Tail's End right now. I would like to know why. Please let me know in the comments below. You can also hop out on Discord. I'd love to have some conversations about it because I gotta say, I pulled this out in some of my blue decks, and I gotta say it works really, really well. The other thing, all of the companions are legendary. Every last one of them. You see them coming. You know they're there, and so you can just hold up this 2 mana. And a lot of the time, so few. Well, I guess there's Essence Scatter, so never mind. Up until recently, the really great counterspells all required 3 mana, and so if I saw 2 untapped lands, I often would assume, nah, there's no way he's got a there's no way he has a counterspell. There's no way. Well, with Tail's End, you do. Seriously, guys, I think a lot of people are sleeping on this card, and I believe that it has the potential to be amazing. Also, the other thing, this can counter Garuda twice. You can stop him from entering the battlefield, send him straight to the graveyard, or if he does stick for whatever reason, you can stop him from triggering. Just saying. You can also stop Thassa from going off for a turn, so you can buy yourself a turn that way. Actually, dig this. If you if your opponent triggers their Witch's Oven, sacrificing a Cauldron Familiar, and they have no other food tokens, you can counter the you can counter the Witch's Oven trigger, and as a result, the food token will never get generated. If they have the 1 food token and they try to bring the Cauldron Familiar onto the battlefield, this can counter that Cauldron Familiar. That's an activated ability on the card that they're activating out of the graveyard. This can stop it. I'm telling you guys, Tails End, give it a shot. And let me know what you think. If you think I'm absolutely off my rocker and there's an issue with it that I'm not seeing, please let me know. If you think this is phenomenal and you can't wait to give it a shot, let me know that too. Because I seriously, I want to hear your opinion. So I personally think that Tails End in the new meta post Ikoria is going to be the single greatest counter spell that we have access to. I think it's going to fit the most situations, and it is going to be the most diverse piece out there. And it's the most flexible because it can touch abilities. Not a lot can touch abilities. And in the past, the reason that it didn't make a splash in M20 was the big game-winning pieces weren't activated abilities. They weren't legendary creatures. But now, well, that's changing. I'd love to hear what you think. Also, keep in mind, Mutate actually is an alternate casting cost. It is considered a creature spell, so this does not counter the Mutate going on board. However, it can counter Mutate triggers. So when a Mutate trigger goes off, this can stop that. So if somebody pays 6 to mutate a Dirge Bat onto something to try to kill one of your creatures, this can stop them from doing that effectively. They'll still give their creature flying and potentially turn it into a 3/3, but you can stop the part they want. That's why they cast the spell. You can prevent that. Also, Banishing Light. This does effectively counter Banishing Light and those types of effects. Just saying. Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts, clearly, but I believe I've made my point. Tails End, check it out. Stop sleeping on it. Let me know what you think. Comments below. Like, review, subscribe, whatever. Anyway, you guys know the drill. I'm shilling on YouTube. You know how it goes. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you guys. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/hamhawks42. I will catch you over there, and I will catch you next time.